UFC Louisville, we have Jared Cannonier taking on Nasruddin Imavov. 14 fights, so I'm going to try to get through these as quickly as possible. I'm going to be breaking down my thoughts on every single fight, including betting thoughts. I already have a couple bets locked in. There's some more that I'm still want to wait a little bit later in the week, some lines that are working towards me. We're going to be talking all about that. So let me know any bets you already have locked in or your most confident picks. Any underdogs you're looking at. Love to go back and forth with you guys. You're going to see all my info for my Twitter and stuff. If you want to go back and forth after the video, you'll see that in the caption below. But there is 14 fights, man. So let's get right into it. First fight of the night. Another fighter that the UFC is trying to push out of India. That's a huge place, and they're trying to capitalize. We got Puja Tomar taking on Ryan Amanda, and you might also see Ryan Dos Santos. She does fight under that name as well. I think she's taking her husband's name, but Tomar, her striking's not terrible, but it is pretty wild. The big problem though is the grappling. And I think the UFC is trying to give her Amanda, even though Amanda has some solid grappling, because her wrestling isn't great. And, she lost both times on the Contender Series. She hasn't been, looking good. They're trying to find her someone. She's also pretty small herself, because Tomar, Sherdog has her listed at like 4'10" or something like that. 5'1" on Tapology. Whatever. She's a small girl. You go back and watch the tape. She's making other girls that are tiny look big. So, she definitely is going to be a small girl in here. I think Amanda can get the takedowns. I think the striking, it's pretty low level. It could go either way. I'm going to lean Amanda to get the takedowns because I honestly think Tomar is a fish out of water off her back. So give me Amanda to get her down and to start this card off with a sub. I'm not going to be betting that fight. That is just a stay away. I am going to tell you now, I think there's going to be some overs after that fight. We're going to go on a streak, some decisions, some overs, but then we're going to go on a violent streak. So bear with me, because a couple of these fights I think will play by decision, but we got a lot of finishes towards the end of the card. So next up, speaking of decisions, we got Cody Stamann taking on Taylor Lapilus. That's no disrespect though. I've honestly, I like Stamann. Cool dude. He's fought a lot of tough competition. These losses you can't give him too much crap about. Douglas Silva down Andrade. I thought that was a winnable fight for him, but Said Nurmagomedov, Merab Dvalishvili, Jimmy Rivera, that was like a mirror match. I remember that. The Spider-Man memes were out that night, but you go back, lost he got knee barred by Aljo. It's like, he's fought a lot of top guys, and he doesn't get finished often. He's been submitted a couple times, and Lapilus, it's weird. He has submissions on his record, but they're not, it's all the fights that you have trouble watching tape on, and I think they're real fights. They're not like fake promotions, but it's hard to actually see them, and it's hard to even see them on the Tapology. They just come up as wins, but he is more of a striker typically. Put up a pretty good showing in his last fight, even though in a loss. He was supposed to get, he's a big underdog, and his takedown defense is solid. He's shown that. His striking's dangerous. I do think he's the bigger guy here. He's he's going to be able to keep this fight on the feet, I think, for the most part. And Stamann hasn't really been shooting takedowns lately. So I like Lapilus to keep this on the feet. I do think this line's getting a little blown out. If you got on, I think on some lines it's like minus 240, but at this point, some are like minus 260. I don't know if I'd play it at that, but I did bet it at minus 210. Here we go. Yeah, minus 210. Parlayed him up with somebody we're going to be talking about later on in the week, and I also did parlay up the over. That was plus, what is it? Plus 350 for the over 2.5, and I know that's chalky, but both guys are tough, durable. I don't see a finish on either side. I know it's a little bit of a layoff for Stamann, but I think he's pretty tough dude. It's not like he's super old for the division. I think it'll hit the overs. So give me Lapilus by decision. Parlayed both of those up. I'll talk to you about the other leg of that parlay in a bit. But let's Next up, we got another female fight. Eduardo Moura taking on Denise Gomes. I've heard him pronounce it both ways, but I think it's just Denise. But Moura, this is one you definitely, if you're betting it, you want to see the. Well, first of all, probably don't do that unless it's like dog or pass. I'll just tell you that right now, because Moura, I do think she should be the favorite. She's got a lot of size on Gomes. She's a big girl for sure, but I don't know if she's gonna make the weight. The weight's been tough for her to make. I don't know if she'll make it, so I think you definitely need to wait if you're betting this fight. But honestly, I could see Denise catching her, knocking her out. But most likely, if Moura can start making the weight easier, I think she could beat a lot of girls. I think she is pretty dangerous. I don't know about the Ronda comparison, but I think she is dangerous. I think she can, take Denise down, submit her. So I'm gonna take Moura by decision, but I could definitely see Denise toughing it out for a decision. I could see her potentially catching Moura, so probably not going to be a bet for me. But I will go with Moura to get the takedowns. But you got to see how's she going to look on the scale, if she's going to make the weight. Is it going to be an Alex Pereira situation or not Pereira? From last week, not dude who got bit, or Andre Lima. What am I talking about? Next up, we got Daniel Marcos taking on John Castaneda. Marcos, man, I'm not going to lie. I actually have been looking to kind of fade this guy. It's not that I don't think he's good. I do think he's good. It's just, typically I think that his lines will be a little wide, but they never give me somebody I really want to bet against them. And I bet him in his last fight against Arichi Long, and that, don't even get me started on that. He quit. Look, I'm sorry. Hey, you put him in a situation where they can, potentially get double their pay or at least not get a loss. I get it, but yeah, it's tough. The Davy Grant fight wasn't the greatest showing. It was close, but Davy Grant, he's not the easiest fight. I think him and John Castaneda might, especially, a year ago would be a decent fight. But, Simon Oliveira, it's not like the best win, but he is a dangerous guy. So these wins aren't the best. That's why I have, I've been like, okay, once he's got that pretty record, once they give me somebody I want to fade him on, it's because he is well-rounded. He's dangerous on the feet. He can mix in takedowns occasionally, and not really a submission threat, but decent grappling. It's just we've seen him get taken down, and you got to say John Castaneda has gotten 9 takedowns in his last three fights. I think it was 3 in all 3 of his last 3. Or that sounded ridiculous, but 3 in all 3 of his last fights. And if he takes, I think he probably can take Marcos down. It's just, in the back of my mind, it's like, 5 years ago, these are in this fight, I'd probably be betting Castaneda, or I'd at least be picking him. But the judges really have been. You see it occasionally, they score control, but more often than not, these past couple of years, if you're getting takedowns, it doesn't really matter unless you're landing big ground and pound. You see, sometimes it gets scored. There was like a fight where, like I think last week as well, where close rounds and people are like, oh, he got the takedowns. And then, the Dricus Sean fight, a lot of people said, oh, those takedowns edged it, but it seems like they haven't been scoring it as much. And I do think Marcos is the more dangerous guy on the feet. He's pretty dangerous, well-rounded everywhere, but I think Castaneda can't get the takedowns, which makes me not want to bet the fight, but I will pick Marcos. I think if it stays out on the feet, I think he can, land the bigger shots, the better shots, but it is a dangerous fight for him. He could, I don't know about dangerous, but he could definitely be taken down and get wrestled here. So I'm gonna take Marcos. I'm gonna take him by decision, but KO is possible. Castaneda has been clipped. Next up, we got Andrea Lee taking on Montana De La Rosa. Man, a lot of people seem pretty confident on Andrea Lee, and I get it. She's a slight favorite, and maybe that's maybe that's how it should be, but both, it's just really, it's a dicey fight, man. This is just a stay away, 1-800-GAMBLER. You need help if you're betting this fight. Like these two fought already. Montana De La Rosa took her down like 4 times, but Andrea Lee was able to get up, land the better shots. this is just a stay away. Just don't bet it. You don't know. Someone's gonna come in and have a terrible performance. Someone's got to snap that losing streak. I think Montana can get the takedowns like she did in the first fight, but Andrea Lee does have she's a little bit more dangerous on the feet. She's got a little more pop in her shots. She got some takedowns of her own. I don't think she'll take Montana down at least more than like once with a throw or something, but I'm going to take Andrea Lee just to land the better shots in the feet and win a decision, but this fight's going to decision. I'm looking to probably parlay that. Haven't done it yet. Maybe with the over and another fight we'll be talking about later. Just a stay away from me, man. I'll pick Andrea Lee by decision. Next up, we got Brad Katona taking on Jesse Butler, and Jesse Butler coming down to bantamweight. A guy who's fought at welter. Last fight was against Jim Miller at 155. He's 5'10". So another one you need to see the weigh-ins for this. Is he going to be able to make weight 135? That's a big if. But, what can you really say about this? Brad Katona should win the fight, but, I bet him in his last fight. That one hurt. I thought he won the fight. Let me know if I'm wrong, but I thought he beat Armfield, and I like Armfield. I actually, like his style is much more pleasing to watch than Katona. I just figured he'd win, grind out a decision. Katona, not a very dangerous guy. So do you really want to bet at this point like minus 600 on a guy who's probably going to make it a decently competitive decision? I mean, a lot of people think he's going to finish him, and I think if he finishes him, it'll be an attrition thing because Jesse just destroys himself to make weight. But Katona's just not a finisher, man. Maybe this is the one guy who can finish, but I ain't betting him at minus 600. Maybe if I saw Butler look amazing at 135 and not look like on death's door, then you could take a flyer. But it's dog or pass at these odds, but I don't think he can healthily make the weight. So give me Brad Katona by decision. Maybe an over if he doesn't look dead. On the scale could be a play as well, but we'll see later on in the week. Next up, we got Charles Radtke taking on Carlos Prates, and it's been some chalk. I got a couple underdogs I'm looking at later on in the card, but it's been a little chalky so far, and this is my favorite dog on the card. Charles Radtke versus Carlos Prates. Prates is dangerous, man. He's a big dude. He's gonna be a much bigger guy. Radtke's not very big for the division. So you got a big guy for the division versus, a smaller guy. But Radtke's a grinder. He's got good cardio. He's pretty durable. He's been clipped once, but, for the most part, he's a durable guy. Good wrestling. I think he could put Prates up against the cage. I think, he could land a bomb. I think he could honestly knock Prates out. And Prates was losing his last fight. A lot of people forgot. To Giles. Do I really care about the Mitch Ramirez fight? I don't. And, the Giles fight, he's losing. And, just finds the shot. Cool. It was a good shot. He's dangerous. He could catch Radtke. Much bigger guy. Tons of power. But I'm not a big believer in this guy. I think Radtke has been underestimated so far his career. And I think because it is part of it is he's a smaller guy for the division, and he came in with a kind of a salty record, but he's on a streak right now. He's got some momentum. A lot of people don't like him, but I think Chuck Buffalo gets it done, man. I think he's going to knock Prates out. I think this is going to be a dangerous fight. This is going to be the start of a little string of knockouts I see in this card. So give me Charles Radtke by KO. And I will be betting it, but it looks like the line's getting even better, so I'm gonna let it chill. But I'll be betting Radtke, either Radtke KO or Radtke inside the distance. Unless either money line inside the distance KO. I need to see the prop as they start to drop on more books. It's still early in the week, but I will be putting some money on Radtke. I will pick him by KO. Next up, though, we got Thiago Moises taking on Ludovic Klein. One of the best fights on the card. Ludovic Klein, a slight favorite. I think he's like minus 120 on most books right now. It's hard to get a read on this fight. We've seen Klein taken down. If Moises gets on top of him, he's going to have a grappling advantage. Sometimes Moises fights close, and sometimes he strikes a little bit more than he should. Again, don't care about Mitch Ramirez wins. But I think they both have advantages. You might hear the chickens barking in the background. And yeah, I haven't set up the green screen yet. I need to, but, I just moved. Both guys have advantages everywhere, man. Klein on the feet, of course, the striker versus grappler. But Klein, man, I'm sorry. Hey, post USADA, get me in touch with his doctor. Shout out to Dan, Fight Picks. But, you know, dude's looking juicy right now. He's taking his strength and conditioning very seriously. Shout out Paul Shag. You know, like, I think Moises, you know, training at ATT, you know, obviously only getting better. Both these guys young enough to still make improvements. It's a tough fight to have a good read on, man. Like, I think Moises can get takedowns, even though his wrestling's not the greatest. I think he probably can take Klein down. So he does have advantages there. So both guys are going to have a shot to finish. I think this fight probably finishes. Gun to my head, I'm going to pick Klein to catch him and knock him out. But I could see Moises finding a sub. We've seen Klein submitted before. This fight should be a 50-50 in my opinion. It's tough to have a real strong lean on either side. So give me Ludovic Klein. I'm going to take him by TKO. Let's move on to the next one. We got Punahele Soriano taking on Miguel Baeza. And, yeah, man, this is interesting. I've been wondering, where is Baeza at? You know, skilled guy, big dude for the division. Just never seemed to have that durability, man. Athletic, has the physical gifts. He just not durable. Just seems to not take a shot well. And also, you know, he's just hittable. Typically, you know, you don't hear me talk about the chins as often as most because it's typically just people are more hittable than others. But, you know, Baeza's hittable, and I don't think he takes shots well. And Soriano, you know, when he coming into the UFC, he was a big power guy, but, you know, it hasn't materialized a ton. But I do think this guy does have power in his shots. It's just, you know, the striking just isn't very technical, so he has trouble finding people. And I do think Baeza's the minute winner. I think he probably even has a grappling advantage here. Soriano, like, okay, people talk about a former wrestler, but his grappling just never looked good in the UFC. You know, I think Baeza is the better, more well-rounded guy everywhere, and I think he should be the favorite. But man, again, I have this feeling like 2-year layoff. Soriano, yes, power hasn't been materializing. Baeza's timing is going to be a little off. I mean, the chin's been an issue. Is he hard sparring all the time? If he is the chin still an issue? If he's trying to give it a rest, if his camp's trying to give it a rest, is his timing going to be off? Is Soriano finally going to find the power that we haven't been seeing lately? I think he does. I cannot believe I'm saying this because, man, I never pick Soriano, but I'm going to pick Punahele Soriano as an underdog to knock out Miguel Baeza, man. I think Baeza, I've seen it before. He's just so hittable. I think if Soriano can clip anybody and show us this dude does in fact have power, it can be against Baeza. I think he clips his chin. I think Baeza's winning for like a round and a half, and then Soriano clips him, knocks him out. Give me Punahele Soriano, second round KO. And we move on to the next fight. Another prospect in Zach Reese. Taking on Julian Marquez, Zach Reese. Undefeated 6-0, and yeah, man, that last fight was crazy. I faded him against Cody Brundage. I did not think he would win like that though. The slam, you know, some people had the Brundage KO and they were going nuts. You know, Zach Reese, I do think he's a big guy. He's dangerous. You know, he obviously goes for it. He fights, and he's fighting another guy who's going to go for it. So this fight, the unders are going to be juiced. But Marquez, even though he doesn't have a ton more fights, he is obviously the much more experienced at this level. They're trying to give him somebody. Marquez is super hittable. I think Zach Reese, can definitely clip. It's going to be an all offense fight, man. First person who lands. It's not that I don't think either guy have like terrible chins. I mean, Reese, we just don't know yet. He just got slammed. Sometimes it's freak stuff. Marquez, we have seen him clipped. We've seen him finish. But hey, he's dangerous. So I could see either guy getting clipped. A gun to my head, I'm going to pick Marquez because I just think the experience at this level, I think Zach Reese, man, I really do think, I get it. When you're like 29, you're like, you know what, I got to go for it. But, sometimes it pays off to just get a little bit more time. And he just seems a little green for me. I think his defense, all over the feet is just so hittable. I think Marquez finds a shot. he might rock him and submit him. So I wouldn't, if you're playing Marquez, I wouldn't just do knockout. I'd do inside the distance probably, even though it's not going to be much better. So you might just take the money line on the off chance that he just veterans this for a decision, because he is fighting for his career potentially. You know, like I know it's only 2 losses in a row, but 3 of his last 5. You know, he's getting a little bit up there. Not crazy. I mean, I doubt they'd cut him yet, but he has been finished a good bit. He provides entertaining fights, so I don't think they cut him unless he were to get like, you know, lose a boring decision or something. But I don't see that happening. So I'm gonna take Julian Marquez. I'm gonna take him by knockout. Tough for Zach Reese. You know, I'm kind of rooting for the guy, even though I kind of like Marquez too. I like both guys, but give me Julian Marquez by knockout. Next up, we got Bruno Ferreira taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. Man, I wish I would have got to this sooner. I think I saw some people playing like crazy lines. I didn't look into it to see if it was like legit, but I think I saw some people getting some crazy lines on it. I can make this one pretty short and sweet, man. I've never been a big Dustin Stoltzfus guy. I just haven't. He's got a couple wins over lower level guys. I don't think he's very good. No disrespect. He'd beat me up. I get that. Let's get that out of the way. But Bruno Ferreira, man, I just think this dude is dangerous, and I think Stoltzfus is so hittable. This is a bad matchup. I think Ferreira knocks him out. So I don't know if do I want to play was probably like minus 150 for the knockout? It's just not my style. I don't play chalk props often at all, but it is tempting. I just think Stoltzfus, you know, could he grapple Ferreira? He potentially, I mean, he's the bigger guy. He does have a size advantage. His grappling's not terrible. I just think if he gets to Ferreira's back, that's trouble. But Ferreira, you know, obviously a judo guy. He's gonna have, I think, you know, just he's so much quicker. He's gonna light Stoltzfus up on the feet. So give me Ferreira by knockout. We move on. I'm not gonna overthink that fight. I see that playing out one way. Next up, we got Rosas Jr. taking on Ricky Turcios. But I do sound confident, so you would think, you know, I'd already have a bet on it. I don't have Ferreira bet already. It's just, I don't know, man. My chalk props, I don't know how I want to play it, but I am pretty confident Ferreira. It's just, I hate playing chalk, especially chalk props. But Rosas Jr. taking on Ricky Turcios. You know, it was kind of a narrative when Rosas was fighting at elevation before when this fight was supposed to happen, because his gas tank has been a problem, but now obviously it's out of the equation. And you know, you got to think this guy's so young, he's only going to make improvements. Even though Turcios is only 31, he's still got time to make a ton of improvements. But at 19, the gaps are like you're making like crazy gaps in training every time you train, or every time, you know, you go 6 months like that. So, you know, it's been a little bit. I'm sure he's only improving. I think he should be about what he is. You know, I think he takes Turcios down and probably finds an early submission. If it goes to decision, I think he'll be on top. I think he'll be able to at least survive. You know, you got to think he's learned from that loss. And also, Christian Rodriguez is a good fighter, man. I've seen Turcios taken down by worse grapplers, worse wrestlers. Turcios is small for the division. He's pretty well rounded, and the gas tank's good. And could he take over late? It's possible that would be his route to win. Rosas is 19. Am I trying to lay almost 3-1? No, I'm not. But you know, I think he should win this fight. I think he's gonna be able to take Turcios down. Probably find the submission, but at least just stay alive for 3 rounds and win 2 of them. So give me Rosas Jr. I'm going to take him to win the fight by submission. I'm going to take him to win the fight sub first round. But if it goes a little later, it could get a little dicey. Next up, man, we got the co-main event. We got Dominic Reyes taking on Dustin Jacoby. Dominic Reyes, man, coming from losing a decision that a lot of people thought he won to John Jones to getting knocked out 3 times in a row. And Dustin Jacoby, this guy was a big prospect. Everybody was talking about him, but now people are talking. I mean, it's crazy. He's only 2-1 over a guy that, you know, I know Dominic Reyes is skilled, but it's kind of crazy. Like, people kind of are off the Jacoby boat, and I get it. You know, 1-3 in his last 4, but those are dangerous fights. You know, a split to Khalil, Azmat Mirzakhanov. I think I remember. Yeah, I mean, all three of those fights were pretty competitive, and Alonzo's a dangerous guy, you know. Alonzo is always dangerous. Knocked out Daum Jung. A lot of people are saying he has no power. I don't think that's true. He's not a big power puncher. He's more technical, but, I think Dominic Reyes, at this point, it's tough, man. I think Jacoby really could knock him out. I don't see a lot of grappling happen in this fight. These boys are going to throw hands and kicks, and Jacoby, he's got a good body kick too. We've seen Jan kind of expose that on Dominic. I think the leg kicks for Jacoby are going to be there. I think Jacoby, this is a good bounce back fight, man. I still think Jacoby's pretty good, man. And honestly, it's a ruthless game. I think Dominic, his time is up, man. I hate to say it. It's a ruthless game. So give me Dustin Jacoby. I'm gonna take him by decision. I think Dominic Reyes can survive, but I think he's gonna eat some shots, and I even think Jacoby has more volume. So the more durable guy who's also going to do more, give me him. I parlayed him up with Lapilus. Like I said, that was my first bet on the card. I parlayed him at minus 205 and Lapilus at minus 210. That got me plus 120. And then I also parlayed him up with the over in the Lapilus fight. And I got that at minus 110. That was still minus 205, and then it was like minus 350 for the over in the Lapilus fight. So 2 parlays riding on Jacoby. You guys know I don't parlay often. I think Reyes is a shot. So let's move on to the main event, man. 14 fights. We're going to kick it off with a great fight in the middleweight division, man. I'm really looking forward to this one. Jared Cannonier, Nasruddin Imavov. Jared Cannonier, 40. Something to think about. Like, crazy. I always forget that he's that old because he's friggin' so in crazy shape. Both these guys train at a great gym, Factory, in the lab. Jared Cannonier used to fight at heavyweight, so yeah, he's a little shorter, but dude is jacked to the gills. Just got friggin' shredded to the tits and went down to middleweight. Imavov's obviously gonna have the bigger frame. He's taller, longer, and he uses that well. They call him the Russian sniper for a reason. This dude is definitely dangerous. And he could potentially catch Cannonier, but I think Cannonier has shown he's very durable, and he's obviously got the higher level experience at the highest level. I mean, you look at this guy, his recent fights. It's like Vettori put a beating on him. Split versus Strickland, that was really close. Could have went either way. Lost got kind of just 0.5 by Izzy. It is what it is. Knocked out Derek, beat Kelvin. Lost to Rob, knocked out Jack, beat Anderson, just kicked his leg off, knocked out David Branch. Speaking of Dominic Reyes, but that was a different Dominic Reyes. My dog wants to sit on my feet, but Imavov's been looking good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that Roman Dolidze fight, he put a beating on him. He was looking good in the Curtis fight before the headbutt. Strickland, okay, you can give him a pass. Buckley, he tiny for the division. Edmond is solid. Ian Heinisch, solid enough. The Phil Rose by decision. If you don't knock Rose out or Rowe out, then he is a good fighter. But I just think Cannonier, man. I think even at 40, at these upper divisions, you can get away with it a little longer. Yes, it's not heavyweight, but even still at middleweight. And this dude's obviously a freak athlete. And I still think he's got another 1 or 2 in the tank, I'm not saying, and then he's done, but I'm just saying, I'm not willing to take away or, say, oh, he's 40, done yet. Maybe if it was minus 200 or something, but, I do think he should be the favorite. I don't think he should be the underdog, so I'm going to go with another underdog in the main event, man. I think Jared Cannonier gets it done. I bet him at plus 117. I think he's plus 120 on a book or two, so... I honestly thought it would start swinging the other way. We'll see. But hey, if you got even better than that, congrats. I think Cannonier gets it done, man. I think he's just a better fighter. I get Imavov's 28. I think he's still getting better. I think a little too much too soon, man. He's been doing good, so I get why they're pushing him like this. Really 4-1 in his last 5. Only lost to Strickland, but realistically, I just think a couple more years. But I think right now in this moment, Cannonier is better. So give me Jared Cannonier. I bet Cannonier plus 117, and I bet the over. Or actually, I haven't bet it yet. I have it just sitting there loaded up. Probably gonna parlay it with like the over in like the Andrea Lee fight. Again, still looking at potentially Radtke inside the distance or Radtke just straight or by knockout. The over in the Katona fight maybe, or even a shot on or Jesse Butler in case, if he does look good on the scale. Probably the over because I do think Katona just beats him by decision if he looks decent at weigh-ins. But I'll take Cannonier. I'm going to take him decision. I'm going to take Dustin Jacoby by decision. Rosas Jr. sub. Bruno Ferreira knockout. Julian Marquez knockout. Punahele Soriano knockout. Ludovic Klein knockout. Charles Radtke knockout. Brad Katona decision. Andrea Lee decision. Daniel Marcos decision. Eduardo Moura. I'm going to take her... by decision. Even though this maybe a sub. I don't know. It's close. It's dicey. Taylor Lapilus decision and Ryan Amanda decision. Those are my picks. The bets locked in, like I said, Cannonier plus 117, Jacoby Lapilus plus 120, Jacoby over in the Lapilus fight minus 110. Gonna parlay up that over in the main event, like the over 2.5 probably. Parlay it up with the over in the Lee fight. Definitely betting some money on Radtke, probably inside the distance, maybe by KO. I don't know exactly how I want to play it yet. I want to let it hit the books. Maybe the over in the Katona fight. I don't know. Those are my betting thoughts, man. I rambled a little bit, went in circles there because I fucking went out of order. But hey, appreciate you. Good luck in the fights. I will catch you guys Thursday for my quick picks and props and all that. Just go over all after everything hits the books and show you guys how I play it. So look out for that video on Thursday night. Until then, man, make some smart bets. I will catch you guys then. I have been live streaming on YouTube. Been playing some UFC 5, some multiverses. So come through, hang out. Until then, peace.